Hejsan också and welcome to Rauta. Today I'm gonna a little bit talk about Swedish melodic death metal. The question is at the gate, so welcome to Rauta's classic reviews. So, At the Gates is one of the most important Swedish band ever, I think, and it has totally deserved all the good in the world that it has gotten, at least, hopefully. Now the band is back in business already with At War with Reality album that came out a couple of years ago, and since they are now continuing their comeback, I think it's only fair to bring one of the greatest Swedish albums ever on the table. So today's classic is a album called Slaughter of the Soul, and that one is one of my favorite albums ever. Now, before I actually go to talk about this CD and this particular version, I gotta say, I give you a little anecdote. Some of you know this and some of you don't. This Dark Throne logo was, by the way, designed by the very vocalist of the band called At the Gates, Tumba Lindberg. So there's a connection with these two. Now, Slaughter of the Soul, I'm not gonna so much to unbox it fully because this is a classic review, not a new album review. This is one of the albums that I have loved since I first heard it sometimes in '96, I think. And it was the very first song, Cold, which I heard on radio, on a metal show, which get me to fall in love with the band, or at least the album. Now, soon after that, I kind of recorded basically tape on tape this very album, and it became clear to me that this album is a killer thing. But little did I know that I was gonna go deeper and deeper with this particular album. Surely I got some earlier works by the band, you know, since the very beginning, with the first EP and all that stuff. And to get the, full-length albums, The Ready in the Sky is Ours and blah blah blah. But none of them was as good as Slaughter of the Soul. In my opinion, while those first albums are like good or at least decent, they are nowhere near what Slaughter of the Soul is capable of. So later on, when I was already digging this album to the max and kind of rating it as a 5 out of 5 album, 10 out of 10 or whatever way you put it, I wanted to kind of upgrade the album because some of the re-release versions had some extra tracks, which was just like sugar coating on one of my favorite albums. So eventually I got this version. I think this was one of the review copies actually a few years ago. This says year 8 2002, so it has been quite a few years on my shelf as well. This basically is just a sleeve on this kind of a double album. Well, in the sense of contents, I mean, there are versions with just open as a bonus tracks, but this one is not the original one, but having the bonus content here on the very same CD. So there are tracks such as Legion, The Dying, Captor of Sin, Slayer cover on the other side of the nation, and the thing is that the basic version is already a perfect one when it comes to melodic thrash death metal, or melodic death metal, as it is basically not so much thrash, but anyhow. But the Legion Slaughter Lord cover is just great, and so are the rest of the songs, like The Dying, which was kind of like a unreleased version of our song from the same sessions, and the Captor of Sin, great cover, and then there are 3 demo tracks. I think this version is the one that is on Spotify as well, so those who have only the basic version of the album, you can always check out those bonus tracks. I totally recommend doing that. So pretty much the same thing that why I have Carcass Hardwork re-release with those bonus tracks comes, the same crumbs are with this one. Great bonus tracks should not be missed, so a good reason to upgrade. Now, talking about music. So as I said, it was the Cold track that got me, totally to dig this album. 96, might be 95, I'm not sure. And then I got the full album, and already the very beginning, even the kind of a sinister intro already was like feeling very captivating. But as soon as that intro is finished with, then this album just starts to pound your face with relentless riffing, totally killer production, and just like inhuman vocalist what Mr. Lindbergh is doing. And I can basically praise this album, enough, because I think this is the kind of epitome of Swedish death metal or melodic death metal in general, in the ways that this album, is made of. All the riffs are just killer ones, and then there are a few ones which are even better than being just killer ones. And the production, I mean, the sound of the guitar is so goddamn cruel. It's shredding, it's killing, it's maiming, slaughtering the very essence of my body and mind, and I'm like, kind of like dying when I'm finished with the album, but in a good way. It's like basically like, pumping iron. You feel like you just got some kind of a suffering, but at the same time, all those hormones and whatever are, just running through your body, and you're just like, oh, goddamn loaded. I mean, every track on this album is a goddamn greatness. I mean, like, there are no, okay, it's just a good track, but they're just like one after another. So basically, what Slaughter of the Soul is, in my opinion, is kind of a melodic death metal equivalent to Slayer's Raining Blood. Or if you go on the technical side, think of a Death's Symbolic, and this is pretty much of that. Or Dark Thrones Under a Funeral Moon, which I did the classic review also. I mean, like, each of these albums are like cornerstones of their own genre, no less. I mean, there are absolutely nothing that could be make me, say like, okay, maybe that track isn't that good. Maybe they should have replaced that. There's nothing wrong with this album. Even the very end with the outro, it's kind of a, so kind of a sad and dark and, just perfect way to end the album. And I think actually this outro, The Flames of the End, is one of the tracks that could be like among the one of the best kind of outros maybe ever. But, just to give you a few ideas which track you should listen to first if you are not familiar with the albums. One of my favorite tracks is definitely the track number 4, Under a Serpent Sun. I think it's kind of like one of the perfect songs in the world. I mean, the world of metal anyway. It's just, the chorus parts, the riffs. If the lyrics on this album are way better than, average good album, not to mention actual average albums, then, like I said, the Cold song number 3, and of course the opening track, Blinded by Fear. I mean, like, even thinking of these songs, Suicide Nation with all the, gun loading sample sounds and all that stuff, it's just like, I cannot compare this to basically anything else but Raining Blood in the sense of just being absolute greatness. I mean, I kind of wish I could bitch about something, because I'm usually quite good at it. I mean, like, I usually find flaws where some people are like, no, why are you complaining about that? That is not a flaw. But usually all the albums, well, most of them anyway, are just something that, even though I might like them very much, I hardly could kind of, like label them as perfect. But Slaughter of the Soul is just one of those. So I just kind of love this album. I actually, previous to just making this, I had to go again through the album. And even though I have listened this album much more than, like most of the albums ever, I still think that after over 20 years, this album is actually giving me something, something that most albums are not able to do after, so many spins. But this is just something that, let's say, I had to go away on a deserted island, and I could pick like 3 or 5 albums, this probably would be there. I don't see why not, because it's just a killer. Melodic death metal, perfection, sound-wise, vocals, lyrics, songs, just everything is goddamn perfect. So, at the gates, I'm totally waiting for the new album, and it should be available in mid-May 2018 to drink from the night itself. So consider this something to warm up yourself with. If you have missed At the Gates for any reason ever in the world, or this particular album, you should at least save your soul now while it can and get this album in your hands. Melodic death metal at its perfection, peak, everything. Get it, and right now go listen to it. Thank you for watching this opinion or classic review video, and come back for more reviews to come your way. Rauta out.